management, or sponsors.
Are you a family caregiver? Are you caregiving for someone who can no longer take care of themselves? Are you overwhelmed? This is Caregiver Solutions Info with Marsha Teal. Marsha will be hosting an hour of true stories and information, tips and updates of the latest research and necessary information in the caregiving field, focusing on you, the family caregiver. An Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert, Marsha has 15 years of hands-on experience at Arden Courts, a leader in assisted living dementia communities here in the U.S. Marsha covers everything you need to know as a family caregiver, especially if you care for a loved one with Alzheimer's disease or other related dementia or chronic illness. If you have a friend or relative that is also a family caregiver, call them now. They won't want to miss a minute. And let them know they can watch on caregiversolutions.info. And they can listen on WNN 1470 AM in South Florida or nationally on the iHeartRadio app. Now, sit back, relax, and learn from our host, Marsha Teal, as she brings information to you that may just be the caregiving solution you need.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Caregiver Solutions Info Show. I'm Marsha Teal, your host, and I'm glad that you could join us today. We have another wonderful program. We are live from Boca Raton, Florida, and this show is for caregivers and for people who care for others who cannot care for themselves, especially people that have memory loss, brain injury, brain disease of some sort, anything that is going to cause them to need a caregiver. This is a show for you to learn from the experts. We have wonderful people that come on that tell about things that caregivers need to know, not only for the person you're caring for, but for yourself as a caregiver, because you want to take care of yourself as a caregiver so you'll be better equipped to care for that person that you're caring for. So we talk a lot about memory loss, we talk about the brain, we talk about things that you need to have in place to make your journey a little bit easier going down that caregiver road. So today we're going to be talking about, like Alzheimer's, another degenerative brain disease that can cause dementia, but not necessarily, but has its own whole set of problems and symptoms. And if you haven't figured that out yet, it's Parkinson's disease. Now, Parkinson's disease is very common if you're in that realm, but if you don't know a lot about it, you're going to be very, very surprised today because we have two experts that are talking about Parkinson's disease in how to manage the symptoms and how to get better, because there's no cure right now for Parkinson's disease, just as there's no cure right now for Alzheimer's disease. But there is hope, and that's what we want to share today. We want to share the hope of being able to live a better quality of life, even though you may have been stricken with one of these terrible diseases. So you're going to find this very inspiring. I know I'm very excited today to bring you this information. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce my two guests. They're here live in the studio with us right now. And my two guests right here, hi. We have Colleen Sturgis. Colleen is the owner and head coach of Beyond Fitness Gym in Delray Beach, Florida. And next to her is John Zels. Hi, John.
Hello.
And John is a patient ambassador for deep brain stimulation for a company called Boston Scientific. So welcome to both of you.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. I'm very excited. So, John, I want to start with you because you are a patient ambassador for Boston Scientific.
Correct.
And they do deep brain stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
because
I'm actually a recipient as well.
You're a recipient.
Yep.
So that's why you're the ambassador, because you have actually experienced and had this deep brain stimulation
Yes.
that they do. So let's back up a little bit, because obviously, because you're here, you were also diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. How did that happen? You're very young, and can you tell us a little bit about your story?
I can. I was diagnosed at 32 I was a computer programmer at the time, and I had a twitch in my right thumb, and I WebMD'd my diagnosis, and it was carpal tunnel syndrome.
Right. That's
So-
what you would think.
Yeah, so I went to a general neurologist, and he did the whole field test for carpal tunnel syndrome, and he said, sit down. And I was like, well, why should I sit down? And he said, because I don't think you have carpal tunnel syndrome. And Parkinson's never even crossed my mind. He sat me down, and he said, I think you have Parkinson's, but I'm not qualified to tell you that, so I need to send you to another, a neurologist, a movement disorder specialist.
That must have blown your mind.
Yeah, it was rough. Absolutely.
Does it run in your family?
It does. It was on my mom's side, her father, so my maternal grandfather, and at least one of his brothers had it.
So it does run in your family, but did you know a lot about it at the time when you were 32?
No,
thinking
no.
that this twitch of my thumb could possibly be that?
Not at all. I mean, I remember when I was a child, my grandfather, number one, my grandfather and his brother, those are the only two that I knew in my family that I actually met. There might have been more. My family came from Lithuania. When they got it way later in age. I mean, in the 70s and 80s, and I was a young kid, but so I didn't even know anything about it. And when I was diagnosed, so I didn't learn anything about it then. And when I got diagnosed, I still didn't even put two and two together at that point.
So you must have been shocked
Oh, absolutely.
and afraid maybe too?
Oh, kidding me? Yeah, absolutely. Didn't know what was ahead of me. I didn't know what was going to happen, how fast it would progress, or any of that kind of stuff.
And so you went to a specialist after that to kind of confirm the diagnosis?
Yep. And I did, and it happened to be on. Unfortunately, the appointment was set for my 32nd birthday. So, and I figured, there's no way that I'm going to go there on my birthday, and this doctor's going to say, yeah, you have Parkinson's. But sure enough, that was the diagnosis.
So what do you do with that?
Well, first you cry a little bit. That's what I did. I talked to my family, and you just start figuring out what you're going to do. You start doing a lot of research on the internet, and at that point I was so young. I believed it. I knew it was there, and I definitely was diagnosed with it. But I just wanted to live my life more than I wanted to really deal with it, because it was just a twitch in my thumb. It was something that I could deal with.
It's just a twitch.
Yeah.
Now, how long ago was that you were diagnosed?
2009.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, since then, have you experienced any other symptoms?
Oh yes, considerable symptoms. It got to the point where I was taking 30 pills a day, and I could barely walk, could barely talk. I needed help with almost anything I needed to do. And
But look at you now. I mean, you're how old now?
42.
You're 42, and you were diagnosed at 32, so you're talking 10 years. And you're here, walking, talking. You look wonderful.
Thank you. Yes.
So it's hard for me to believe that you were so disabled just a few years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I had the surgery, the deep brain stimulation surgery, in February of last year, and right from then on, I mean, it's been nothing short of a miracle for me.
So how did you get to that point? So you were living life with Parkinson's disease,
Right.
having to have people to help you.
My family and other people, friends, whoever it was, to help me.
To cook for you.
Yeah, well, at times, because like I said, I took 30 pills a day, but it was every 4 hours I would have to take 6 pills, and it would last towards the end, for at least the last 12 to 18 months. That would only give me, of those 4 hours, I'd have 2 to 2.5 hours of on time where I was actually able to function. But then the next hour and a half to 2 hours, or even longer, would be off, meaning where I was completely symptomatic. Where before, on time is when you're on. I wasn't as good as this, but it was close to this, where I was able to function, talk, and if I need to go to the bathroom.
But just short periods of time.
Right. And so when there was, dietary restrictions, so I lived my life in this just windows of time. Like every 4 hours, I got 2.5 hours of those 4 hours if I didn't have a dosage failure or whatever. So.
Wow. So you had to stop working?
Yeah. I stopped working in 2017.
And that must have been hard.
Yeah. That was very hard. Very hard.
And to being, a strong guy and, very
that's-
social, what other symptoms did you experience after the thumb twitching?
Okay. Well, I ended up, I had tremors in all 4 extremities. I had major gait issues, speech issues. I had facial contortions, or dystonia as well, where I had the facial pulling and, So those off times were like horrendous. It was very painful, very, very hard to deal with.
So, what made deep brain stimulation an option? How did that come about?
All right. Well, deep brain stimulation was an option. Well, I knew about it from my initial research, but all that I knew, because there was nothing about it, was very very difficult to find information about it out there because not a lot of people have it, not a lot of people have done it. But all I knew was I had to go for brain surgery, and you have to be awake, and that was all I really knew about it. And so I was ended up being a last resort for me, but it never should have gotten to that point. I guess I could have done it earlier. I mean, I think that most of the doctors say about 5 years in, and if you're a candidate, that's a good point to start thinking about doing it. But I was always scared to do it because it's brain surgery. And
yeah, brain surgery while you're awake. I mean, I know that I did a little research myself and found that they prefer you to
Yeah,
be awake. They
yeah.
can do it when you're
Right, they
under
will do it.
anesthesia,
Yeah,
but they
okay.
prefer you to be
Right,
awake.
because they have to place the lead. I mean, in the OR, they place the leads to the point where, and then they turn it on to make sure they're in the right spot. And if they're in the right spot, they move them around a little bit.
And you have to be awake so you can respond to their questions and
Yeah,
answer
and
things
answer,
to help them,
and
right?
they can see that the tremors are stopping on each side. They do the right side, so the left side stops, left side, right side stops. It's truly a phenomenal procedure. I mean, it's just no pain, no discomfort. You would think it would be a horrendous thing, but it's just not. It really wasn't. And that's part of the reason that I chose this path, to go out there and preach about it a little bit.
Wow. It is a miracle. I mean, look at you now. I just can't imagine, the other John, the way you described it.
Yeah.
So how did it change your life from the beginning and having the Parkinson and then when you had the deep brain stimulation, they call it DBS for short.
DBS for short, yeah.
How did it change your life?
It's been a 180-degree change. I mean, it's night and day. Like I said, it's unfortunate I can't show the videos now, but I have video clips that I can show you another time, and you wouldn't believe it. I mean, I think you've seen some of it. Right? It's just, I mean, I had lost 50 or 60 pounds within the last year before surgery, and I couldn't eat. I could barely eat, barely talk. I was miserable, highly depressed, full of anxiety. Didn't want to go out unless it was to go to the doctor or to see my family or whatever. I didn't want to see my friends. I isolated myself. So it was a horrendous experience, especially not that it's ever going to be better with age, but to be 42 or 41 years old at that point and, you're not working. Just my day consisted of waking up in the bed. I would roll over and get my medicine just so I could get out of bed to go to the bathroom. It would take me half an hour just to be able to go do that unless I got somebody to help me. I had to go from the bed to the couch, and I'd sit there, stare at the TV, whatever was on. It could have been static. I would just stare at it because I wasn't retaining or you just didn't care about anything anymore.
Wow. Not everyone, from what I read, is a candidate
Right.
for DBS.
Yes,
but
especially if you have dementia, you're not a candidate, and they do, tremendous neuropsych evaluations and all kinds of other things to make sure you're at least where I had it done. That's what they do. There are other places that maybe don't do that, but it was a big team effort, and I happen to be, I guess, a pretty good candidate, right?
yeah, lucky for you, lucky for us that you did. So how do you maintain where you are now? Are there things that you're doing differently than you did before to maintain your physical condition, your mental condition?
Yeah. Well, number one, I don't have to take any medicine anymore. Some people that have DBS, they still have to take medicine. I happen to get lucky enough where
Completely off.
Complete 30 pills a day to 0.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
So that's first and foremost. So that gives me a little clarity, because taking all those pills, it could be 30 Advil. Doesn't matter. You can't take 30 of anything a day. And, just, like I said, I would sit on the couch and just stare at
Well, I'm sure that all that medication is going to have its own set of side effects, too.
There's all kinds of horrible side effects. And, it wasn't just one medication. There was a multitude of pills that were involved, and that was a concoction of pills. I did clinical trials throughout the years, all kinds of different things. And there's all kinds of horrible side effects. That's we could go a whole another hour for that. So
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't even like taking.
Yeah.
I mean, I have trouble swallowing pills myself, so I can't imagine having to swallow 30 plus a day. That would be torture in itself for me.
Yeah. So, anyways, when I got out of the surgery, I started to notice. I mean, I had lost all that weight, so I started, but I had no more dietary restrictions. So now here I am, out of surgery. I feel great. I don't need to take my medicine anymore. And, I can drink a beer, I can eat a donut. So I was going nuts, eating donuts, drinking beer all the time. And
combination.
yeah, well, whatever it was, I was eating. Because I could eat again. Like on the way home from the surgery, we stopped. My family, we stopped at this place that one of my favorite restaurants down in Fort Lauderdale, and we went there because I hadn't been able to go in years and enjoy it, and I just enjoyed it. I ate, so I put 60 pounds back on in 2 months.
Wow.
So it all went.
You made up for it, didn't you?
Yeah, well, it all went right to the gut. So I had to work on that. But I started to notice the more that I started to notice that my body responded differently to taking things in, like how I respond to sugar and alcohol, and so I started to eat a lot more healthy, a lot more seafood, and I also started to notice that after surgery I was having issues with my balance. I fell a few times, and that was because it was called festinating gait. What that was, what the doctor said to me, was because I had basically atrophy in my leg because I would go from the bed to the couch every day for 18 months. I didn't really go anywhere. So.
Right, because if you don't use those muscles, you're going to lose the ability, the atrophy, right?
So my mind was like, phew, we can go anywhere, we can do anything. But then by the end of the day, my legs were like, oh, you can't go anymore, you got to stop. And I fell a few times. So then I actually met Colleen.
Okay, and we're going to stop there because we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to find out what John did to help himself after having deep brain surgery, and you're going to be very surprised at this, so you don't want to miss it. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Talk here, talk there. Talk 1470 AM and 95.3 FM, the Health and Wealth Radio Network. WNN.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live, it's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides. You are listening to your host, Marsha Teal, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marsha. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
We're back, and my special guest today, I have Colleen Sturgis, and she is the coach and head coach and owner of Beyond Fitness Gym. And next to her is an amazing person. We've just found out how amazing, John Zels. And John is a patient ambassador for Boston Scientific because he has had deep brain stimulation because of his Parkinson's disease. And John, thank you for sharing that. I mean,
thanks for having me.
Totally amazing, what we can do these days, the technology and the science, that, the before and the after, as you described before break. It's amazing.
It's completely exceeded my expectations. I had no idea that it was going to be like as good as it has been.
Yeah,
it's been incredible.
It is incredible. So we left off before break about keeping yourself in shape now, mentally and physically, and we left everybody in suspense, and we're segueing now to Colleen next to you because you said you met her.
Right.
How did Colleen enter into this picture?
Well, Colleen runs a program at her gym. It's called Rock Steady Boxing, and she reached out to me, or somehow, I don't even know how I
saw you on Facebook, and I was like, I want to learn about him.
Yeah.
And I just messaged him.
Yeah, and I went, and I had known about it, but I should have been going for the entire 10 years that I had Parkinson's, but it progressed rather slowly throughout the 10 years, and then the last 3 last 3 years or so, it progressed really rapidly to the point where it was just a shock. I was kind of shell shocked by the whole thing, and I didn't do that.
Okay.
But I met her, and I went to do the Rock City Boxing, and it's just this amazing class, camaraderie. It's just a really, really neat thing.
So, Colleen, tell me about this Rock Steady Boxing, because you have a special gym called Beyond Fitness Gym, but this is a program in your gym for boxing, and is it particularly for people with Parkinson's?
Yep.
So tell me about that.
So the program started up in Indianapolis in 2009. It actually started out when a trainer was working with someone that had Parkinson's, and they were just kind of fighting, and then after about a few months, he finally put his hand out, and he noticed the tremor was gone. And he said, oh, look, my hand's rock steady. So then that was kind of like the initial thing into it. Like, they found out that exercise was so beneficial, it slowed down the progression of Parkinson's. So I guess, say it was 2020 now, so 11 years later, they have this program all over the world. And you go there, you get certified, and then each trainer can take what their knowledge is and use something to create whatever they want in their facility. So I fell in love with the program when I was there. I love the fact that people could go to a place, no matter what age, feel strong, feel empowered. Like, it just brought this youth to them. Like, and, you know, I see it all the time. People come in, they're walking, they might not be so happy, and I said, just give it a chance. And so it's like a beautiful program. Do you want me to tell you about kind of what's in it?
Yeah, because it is specific to
Yeah.
Parkinson's
Right.
disease. Did you feel that it would be a good addition to your gym? Did you know somebody in your family that had Parkinson's? I mean, you said you fell in love with it. Was there anything that really clicked with you when you saw this?
So how I came into this was one of my clients. He came to me and he's like, I want you to look into this program. And so I did some research, and then he's like, I'm going to pay for you to go get certified in it. And so that's basically how it happens. And, you know, I quit my job, and then I opened my gym. It's centered around this specifically.
Wow.
So this was the reason behind the gym. And I always wanted a fitness center where people could come in and feel empowered and feel like family. Because I know when you go to a place and it lifts you up, and it kind of just fills your heart, so that when you go out and you leave, the rest of your day is just beautiful. It kind of sets the whole tone. So, yeah.
And so boxing now
Yep.
is what you teach
Right.
for the people that have Parkinson's. You started boxing,
Yes,
right, John?
I did. It's so
and
wonderful.
when you started the program, how did it feel? Had you ever boxed before?
Well, no, I had never boxed before, but like I said, had I started the program prior to receiving DBS, it would have been a little bit different. But for me, having DBS, it was kind of, you know, my everything kind of functioned normally again. So, and I'm fairly young, so it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. But just the class after you leave, like she said, it's just amazing. The friendships, everything else is just a really cool idea.
Now, let me ask you, because you already had the deep brain stimulation and
Yep.
you have these neurotransmitters, things implanted in your head that go down your neck into another thing in your
The battery,
chest,
yeah, the
right?
battery, yeah.
They call the battery.
Yep.
Is it safe for you to be boxing?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, because it's, you know, it's no resistance boxing. Nobody's hitting me back.
Yeah,
I
I can tell you kind of what
Yeah.
it is a
All
little
right,
more.
so no one's hitting back
No,
at
no,
you.
no.
You're the one punching
Yeah.
a punching bag, but
right.
you're not getting hit back. Okay, I
Right.
just want to be sure,
Yes.
because we don't want to damage
No,
anything
no.
that's there.
Yeah, I wouldn't do
so,
that.
Colleen, are there different programs for different people that have
Yeah.
Parkinson's? Tell me about that.
So it's more of a boxing therapy. They found that the components that a person would go and take a boxing class all would help someone with Parkinson's. So we spend the first half hour conditioning, doing balance, coordination, and we do put everyone into levels. So they come in, and I have 3 different leveled classes that I put them in with the right group. And it's an all-encompassing class. So basically we use the heavy bags. Yes, you're punching, but you're not punching like heavy. Some of the guys do. But we use a lot of like, yeah, this guy.
You're the champion now.
You were humbled, right, when you came and you're like, oh, just come on, take it.
Yeah.
And you have like 85-year-old men just
Oh, it's
doing it, and they're running and
Yeah.
jump roping, things they've never done before.
Yep.
They're doing it. And it's like
Yeah,
really cool to
it's-
see. And they they just smile. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this now. And, I take out the element of fear and it's all safe. It's done according to their level. If someone comes in, I interview and I sit down with everyone and I find out what else is going on, any other kind of stuff with the bones, the spine, and then I modify them. So we walk around the room and we give different people modifications. So it's kind of like you get a personal training in a big group, and then you just have a family. And, these guys come in laughing. We get to know each other.
Yep.
So
Well, you're not alone. You have camaraderie with people that know what you're going through. Yes, I have
Yeah.
Parkinson's
Yeah,
too,
and
but
that's-
it's
it
not
means a
going to
lot to
stop
do
me
that. Yeah.
because let's get going and doing this. And one of the things that when I was reading more about Parkinson's disease, it does say that you need to keep moving, right? And movement is good, right? And
It is.
it's not always easy to
Right.
do.
I was going to say it's very counterintuitive because you want to move, but your body's not going to let you. And, if you get to a certain point like I did, it would have been tough for me to go to those classes right before I got the surgery.
So what about people that haven't had the deep brain stimulation like John, and maybe they're not a candidate for it like he was, and they're got the tremors and they're not in balance and they have a lot of problems. How much success have you seen with people that are not a candidate for what John had?
Okay. So yeah, we have the different level classes. We see amazing success. We'll see people come in hunched over on their wheelchair.
Yep.
They'll work with, and some of them also have a lot of depression when they first start because they're in denial. And I just tell them, let's just come on, let's just start a few classes. I normally work with a lot of them seasonal too. So by the end of season, walkers are on the side. They're standing up straight. They're smiling, and these are people that have some of them never exercised before. So,
Wow.
I have women that come in, they're like, I don't know if I can do this. I boxing, and I've never exercised my whole life. I said, I remember the girls today. She was in there just dancing around as she's boxing. And she was just so happy. And so it warms your heart to see that. And yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to learn a little bit more about symptoms of Parkinson's disease, some resources, and learn a little bit more about deep brain stimulation. So stay with us.
It was close enough. I forgot about that.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live, it's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides. You are listening to your host, Marcia Teal, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our national sponsor, Arden Courts Memory Care Community. Arden Courts is a leader when it comes to memory care, helping people to have better quality of life. They have about 50 memory care assisted livings throughout the United States, and they have 10 right here in Florida. Arden Courts is a great resource, and they would like to give you this great book. It's called The 36-Hour Day. It's a wonderful book for caregivers to learn more about not only caregiving, but about memory loss, a lot of tips, a lot of advice, and a lot of definitions. It's yours for free, just for asking. All you have to do is call 888-478-2410. Tell them that you heard about the free offer on the Caregiver Solutions Info Show, and they'll be happy to get your name and address and mail a book to you. So again, just call them up at 888-478-2410 to get your free copy of the 36-hour day book. You'll be glad that you did. So my guest today, very special guest, Colleen Sturgis, with me from Beyond Fitness Gym, and her friend and client, John Zels, who is a patient ambassador for deep brain stimulation through Boston Scientific. And thank you all again for being here today. This is fascinating. We've talked about Parkinson's disease before on the program. We had someone coming on and talking more about the disease itself. But the first time to talk to somebody that had the special treatment of deep brain stimulation, which you had about a year or so ago.
Yeah, February. Oh, actually, the first it's a two-part, actually a three-part procedure. You go in for one surgery where they put the leads, another surgery where they put the battery, and then the third procedure is where they turn it on, and it's all within 1 week after each other.
Yeah. So you went to have this. It's actually brain surgery.
Mm-hmm.
They drill holes in your brain on both sides of your brain while you're awake.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And just that itself is like super scary.
Yep, it is.
But they sedate you, right? So you don't really feel anything?
Well, they give you anesthesia, but no. There's a frame that they've put on that guides the drill. For
Right.
that, they put me under, and then they brought me back out, and I was awake for the rest. So I heard the drilling. But I'd much rather do that again, and I say this every time I do any of these speaking engagements for Boston Scientific and the neurosurgeons there, that I'd much rather do this anytime than go to the dentist any day of the week.
the drilling at the dentist is worse, you think?
Way worse. You feel it,
I know what that feels like. So
yeah. This is not nearly as bad as that. So that's basically what it was like. I mean, once they get through there, you don't. There's no nerve endings in the brain, so you don't feel anything. I was thinking,
which is kind of funny to think about. That someone's drilling into your head that the brain doesn't feel pain itself.
Nope.
So you're getting these. I guess there's three parts of it. There's the neuro stimulator that goes
right. That's part in the chest.
Goes in the chest, right? Then there's the lead, which is the wire that goes in your brain, right? And then there's the extension, which connects the two.
Right, because that's between the two surgeries. So when they go and they put the leads in my head, and they wrap the wires like behind your ear here, and then the next surgery they put the it's called an IPG, but the battery in, and then they put a connector between the two, and they kind of tunnel it down. But for that, you're asleep, and that was the recovery from the battery was a lot more painful than the recovery from the brain surgery, believe it or not.
Amazing.
One night in the hospital was it. This was outpatient, but they go behind the muscle, so it hurt a little bit, any movement. And also they tunnel down behind your ears, so there was some pain back there. But beyond that,
do you feel anything now when you're doing your normal activities?
You mean as far as like encumbrances of? No, not really. If I lie on my chest when I'm sleeping, sometimes I feel the battery, but it's not very big. You can see it's right there. So,
okay.
You can see it on the camera. But
sort of like maybe someone getting a pacemaker.
Yeah.
Sort of the same type of thing. So you have this now, and you said it's a battery operated. How long does the battery last?
Well, my battery is rechargeable, so I recharge it once a week or every week or two for about 40. Well, if I go 2 weeks, about an hour and a half, 45 minutes or so, and it's 15-year life on the battery. As opposed to there's another battery you can get, which is a solid cell battery, which is a 5-year battery based upon how high your settings are. But I figured, it's wireless recharging like your phone. You put this little puck on your chest, recharge 45 minutes while you're watching TV, and that's it. So I don't want to have another surgery in 5 years.
No, we don't want that. But now you have this implanted in your brain, down to your chest, connected, and obviously it's called a stimulation. So it's stimulating your brain.
Correct.
Right? And do you feel that when it's stimulating?
I don't feel it on a continuous basis, but I do have to go every once in a while for updates, the programming updates. If I become symptomatic again, I'll go back to the doctor because I am having symptoms. And I have a remote that I can control a little window of stimulation. But if I were to switch it off and switch it back on, you can feel something funny. It's undescribable, actually.
Like a tingle?
Yeah, it's just a tingle, but in your head though, so it's a weird,
Oh, so you feel it in your head?
Yeah,
the
but
tingle.
only when if turned on or off, and it's
Okay.
not. It's just it's a fascinating feeling. I can't even describe it. As a matter of fact, one of the people that I met before I had the surgery called me the other day and said, she hadn't ever turned hers off and turned it back on like that, and she did. She says, "Does it feel funny?" And I was like, "Yeah." She said, "Can you describe it?" I said, "No." She said, "Oh, it's the same feeling." I said, "Yep." And that was it. That was the end of the conversation. But yeah.
So once someone gets the implant of all of this,
Mm-hmm.
then I suppose it's case by case of how many times the impulse happens, how many times it's stimulating your brain. Does it?
Oh, it's continually stimulating.
Oh, it's continuous.
Yeah, continuous, 24 hours a day. But the amount of stimulation, the current, or it's measured by milliamps, is different from case to case. And there's all kinds of different settings, and especially between the different brands of devices, there's different ways of.
And your doctor helps set that
Right,
up,
yeah, yeah,
but it's
yeah.
a continuous
Continuous,
stimulation.
right.
So this device then basically eliminates or alleviates a lot of those
Oh, yeah.
pre-surgery symptoms that you had.
For me, it's fixed everything, or not fixed, or it's alleviated anything. I mean, I do have times where if I get too dehydrated, some of my symptoms will come back a little bit, but I just drink some water or whatever. Or if it took a good 6 months for me really to get dialed in. I mean, like I said, the day after the day of them turning on, I was good to go. I could walk, talk. It was amazing. I mean, you can see the
Immediately.
immediately, like that, snap of a finger.
Just like the flick of a switch.
But then, as time went on, there were some things I needed to get corrected, and there were only things I noticed, internal tremors in my legs and things like that. So it took about 6 months before it got completely dialed in and good to go. But, and then now I go back every 3 months or so to the doctor, if I need to or not, just to, he checks out all kinds of impedances within the brain. There's all kinds of science jargon that is well beyond my knowledge. I know only because I'm patient ambassador and I hear it all the time, but I don't even know what I'm talking about now.
Well, you're amazing. This surgery, this stimulation is amazing. We're talking about Parkinson's disease, in case you joined us after the break. And Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative brain disorder. It causes slowness of movement caused by the death of dopamine-producing nerve cells responsible for relaying messages that control body movements. So when people hear about Parkinson's, they think of tremors, shaking, people that have a hard time talking, walking, involuntary movements of different parts of your body, right?
Yep.
And you don't have any of that now.
Nope.
And you had all of it before.
Pretty much. The only thing I didn't have was a lot of people that have Parkinson's lose their sense of smell for whatever reason. That was like the one symptom I didn't have. I would have been happy to have that and trade it in for another one, but either way, I'm good now. So.
Wow, that is amazing. So now that you brought that up, I want to talk a little bit about the signs of Parkinson's, right? Just to go through, because obviously you didn't think that you had it when you had a little twitch in your thumb, and that's how it all started. So, if you want to jump in here and, and talk about this, but these I got off of the Parkinson.org website, which is for the Parkinson's Foundation that you shared with me, Colleen. And tremor, obviously, right? You had you let me know if you had any of
so
these.
I had tremor, and the tremor started. Well, it was a tremor that started in the right thumb, and it gradually became the right hand, left hand, right foot, left foot. So I had all four tremors at one point.
Okay. What about small handwriting?
Oh yeah, it's horrible. My handwriting was horrendous.
It changed?
It's better now because it's a muscle memory kind of thing. It's much better than it was. It's still pretty bad, but not a lot of people write anymore. So.
But it got smaller as your
horrible.
Parkinson's.
I couldn't even read it. Yeah.
Wow.
Everything gets smaller with
Yep.
Parkinson's. Your movements, you get rounder and
Yep.
stuff.
Okay. That's wow.
Yeah, you get the hunched over kind
Yep,
of.
the hunched over.
I think that might be one of them on this list. Loss of smell, you just mentioned,
Yeah.
but you didn't have that
No,
one.
you can still smell everything.
Okay. Trouble sleeping.
I had a lot of trouble sleeping. Well, I definitely had trouble sleeping, but it wasn't because if I'd wake up in the middle of the night, then I hadn't taken any medicine, so I was if I would have to immediately go back to sleep, otherwise my symptoms would kick in, and then it's just impossible to fall asleep, so I'd have to take more medicine. So those were the days where it was like 32 to 34 pills.
Wow. Terrible. Trouble moving or walking.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
mentioned that.
Mm.
Constipation.
Yep.
It's a little TMI, but
Yep, absolutely. I had it though. Yeah.
you know, I mean, who would think that is a symptom? I mean,
Okay.
that's why I wanted to bring these to light, because
Right.
people, not that if you have one of these or maybe even two, but
Mm-hmm.
if you have several of these symptoms, you definitely want to get it checked out.
Yep.
And that symptom, constipation,
Yeah.
could happen 10 years before you're even diagnosed.
Yeah.
But
Those
that
are-
can also be
Anything else.
Anything
but
else, right?
normally, yeah, they say like it happens way before your diagnosis.
but it's more of a constant type of problem, right? I wouldn't think it would be like one time. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but it seems to me that, that would be something that you could have and then it would be gone. But maybe
Well,
people...
it's more of a constant thing. I mean,
It's more constant
but
with
it wasn't,
Parkinson's.
For me, it was towards the latter stages of those 10 years
Okay.
of me.
I mean, that can happen if people don't drink enough water, if they
Yeah.
don't eat enough fiber, obviously. But
Yeah.
if you're doing those things...
yeah, and I
you're
think a combination of it is not only the GI tract and having Parkinson's, but some of the medicines make you constipated as well. So it could go either way.
Okay. And these are signs of Parkinson's, going down the list. Soft or low voice.
Yes, I hate it. Everybody used to say "what" to me. All my friends, my family, my dad, anybody, what? Because nobody could ever understand. So it was like my least favorite word or question, because everybody always wanted me to repeat myself. I think I'm much clearer now. I mean, in the videos you can, unfortunately, I don't have them. We're on the radio, but the videos of them turning me on, my voice inflection immediately. I mean, that just boom.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's and I know a lot of people in the support groups that I've been to, and the ones that I manage on Facebook are not, they hate being asked what. That's like one of the top 10 questions.
Is
that
it
you hate.
because your voice is softer, or do you think it's because also you have trouble forming the words?
Yeah, forming the words and voice is softer, and it's just hard. I mean, it's hard to just get anything out. It's hard to do anything. Even like at night, pulling a blanket over me was like pulling like a lead blanket, like an X-ray blanket, or anything took so much more effort to move, or picking up a glass of water. In my mind, I'm like, I want to pick up the little owl and then go drink the water, but
Right.
I couldn't do it if I was in that off period. I just couldn't do it.
Wow. This one says masked face,
Yep.
which means,
Yep.
your face either looks mad
Yep.
or really
and I always
serious.
used to get that. What's wrong? Why are you upset? What's wrong?
Really?
Because I had no expression in my face.
Wow. And now you're very
Right.
expressive and smiling,
Right.
and your eyebrows move up and down,
Everything
and your
really moves.
eyes twinkle.
But not before. It was I didn't have any. I didn't have any emotion. Part of the other thing is, like, I'll watch a movie now, comedy, and something that I may have seen 3 years ago, and I maybe just stared at it because I was on all the medicine or whatever, and I didn't laugh, and I'll laugh like crazy, or I'll watch another movie and I'll cry. All this new emotion, it's weird to kind of deal with that.
Wow. Good for you. Dizziness or fainting?
No, I didn't have much of that, but I've heard about, it's called NOH, I think, something orthostatic hypotension.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I didn't have that issue.
And the last one on the website is the stooping or hunching over.
Yeah, I definitely had that. Just your posture. I was kind of
Because you're tall. How tall are you?
6'4".
Yeah, you're pretty tall. So you experienced that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now you have like none of that.
Right.
That's amazing. So these are little miracles that we're seeing, and Colleen's helping to,
Absolutely.
promote little miracles in her gym with the Rocksteady Boxing. Do you have other programs for other people that don't have Parkinson's disease? Can anybody come and participate?
Yeah, so we also have the boxing classes there. Right now we just have it on Saturday for everybody, but then we're starting a new program where we're going to focus more on like seniors, and that's going to start in April, May. And then we also teach yoga. We also use the space for some workshops. We rent it out for people that want to kind of host things. So yeah, that's kind of what we do there.
That's awesome. This has been great. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about non-motor symptoms that we're going to learn about, because I think a lot of people don't know about non-motor symptoms of Parkinson's disease, and learn how you can go and get better fit at Colleen's Gym, and how knowing how John here is an ambassador and how he can help others that are going through this disease. So we'll be right back.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live, it's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides. You are listening to your host, Marcia Teal, an Alzheimer's disease and dementia care expert on caregiversolutions.info. If you have a question or wish to share a story, call into the show at 888-565-1470 and talk with Marcia. Now, back to Caregiver Solutions.
Our topic today is Parkinson's disease, especially when it comes to deep brain stimulation, or DBS. And John is with us today talking about his experience with Parkinson's disease and how he was significantly improved after having deep brain stimulation. They say from the statistics about 70% of people do see improvement, and you're definitely at the top of the list there because you're like a miracle. There are some symptoms that we've talked about that if people are looking and listening to us and they're wondering, gee, is that twitch that I have leading to something? Because yours started as a simple twitch in your thumb, right? You thought it was carpal tunnel syndrome, which it wasn't. At least you went and got it checked out. And we talked about the signs of Parkinson's, so that if anybody is listening and they have maybe several of these, you want to get checked out. Those are motor symptoms, a lot of them what they call motor symptoms, but there are things that the Parkinson's Foundation calls non-motor symptoms, right? And a couple of those, and you had some of these too. You mentioned it earlier. I just want to go through the list for people that maybe don't know this. Apathy is one of them. You don't want to do anything.
Yeah, and it's still, I mean, the non-motor symptoms, even though I had DBS, those are still, that's not something that really corrects. So I still have that, the apathy, but I try, as long as I get up and get going in the morning, then it's good. But if not, if I sit around too long, I'll end up not doing anything for the whole day.
But that's like a lot of us, you got to sometimes, really, I mean, that applies to a lot of people because if, you start not being active. A lot of seniors, or a lot of caregivers too. A lot of caregivers get so overwhelmed that they get apathetic. They don't want to do anything because they're already doing so much and they don't want to take care of themselves. So, but that's not to say that, it's not common. It is common in a lot of different diseases, but that's what they list as a non-motor symptom of Parkinson's disease. Depression.
Yep. I had a lot of depression prior to surgery. I'm a lot better now than I was. But
you have a lot to be happy about now, for sure. Also, sleep behavior disorders. I guess that might mean
as you asked me earlier if I slept well. I would sleep a lot during the day, and that might have been so. And then at night I'd be up half the night because I slept all day. But I don't know if that's what you're.
They wake up with nightmares.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very strong nightmares.
Nightmares.
Yeah.
Yep.
I had a lot of vivid dreams and nightmares.
Vivid. Yeah.
Loss of sense of smell, which you didn't have, but we talked about, and cognitive impairment.
Yeah, and I did have a lot of that, and I still do. The memory issues and just all around, like retaining information. Sometimes I'll go and try and read the newspaper or whatever, and I just get lost after a few paragraphs within that, and my mind kind of wanders, and there's not much I can do about that. Surgery doesn't help, but the doctors have said if I start doing like Sudoku and chess and crossword puzzles, that might help, and I take a lot of B vitamins to help with that.
So you had the cognitive impairment prior to the
Yeah.
deep brain stimulation surgery?
Yeah,
And
but
you didn't see a change, but
No.
it didn't get worse,
No, it
did
didn't get worse. No, it didn't get worse. But I definitely didn't see a change in it. That's from the doctors have all said that's not something that's ever going to get better unless I do something on my own to work on it. So I do a lot of, like I said, I try and do crossword puzzles or things like that. I also do a lot of walking on the beach. That seems to help because as a neuroprotective exercise, as a neuroprotector, that's so.
Yeah, that's where Colleen comes in,
Right.
all that great exercise.
Right, I do that.
But, you know, the doctors, the scientists say that stimulating your brain on your own through exercising your brain, like
Yep.
what you're doing, the Sudoku, the crossword puzzles, doing things challenging for your brain. If you've always done crosswords and you're really good at it, then you're not really challenging
Right.
yourself. So you got to find something new to challenge your brain, like learn a new language, learn how to play an instrument,
Right.
do
Oh.
things that your brain doesn't know how to do, and that is really good stimulation,
Yeah.
you know, for your brain. So I think that's good advice for everybody
No, I agree.
when we're talking about stimulating our brain.
We do that in our classes.
Do
Yes,
you?
I
We
was-
do a lot of memory.
Okay,
so
good.
like the boxing combinations themselves, there's 6 different punches. We label them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll call out combinations, and they have to repeat them. Or
Wow.
sometimes I'll give them math problems or spelling questions, and as we punch. So that's kind of how we use the.
I don't like those days.
They all look at me and they're like, I said, it's time for memory time. And,
That's great. So
You
you're
know,
incorporating that in with the
yeah.
physical. I think that's
or we'll
great.
play catch, and every time you catch the ball, we'll do the alphabet. You have to say a different country or a different type of food or something, just to keep them moving and thinking.
Yes, just to think on your feet a little
Yeah, it's-
quicker. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
It's
think that's,
difficult. and
I
that-
think
it
that's
makes
great.
it makes it a lot more difficult to do. I mean, it's good; it needs to be done, but it makes things a lot more difficult to do. And we all in the class we kind of hide, and then
Grumble. And then after
Yeah.
that, I'm like, all right, go ahead, rip the bag up. Okay.
So, tell me about your gym and where it's located, and if
Okay.
someone wanted to contact you or come in to see the gym, how could they do that?
Okay, so it's Beyond Fitness, and we're located on Atlantic Avenue, just west of Military. Most people know where 3G's Deli is, so we're across the street from 3G's
I
Deli.
know where that is.
When people call, I say, where are you? Across from 3G's. So our website's beyondfitnessdelray.com. And then also, you could also call me or the business. It's, do you want me to give the number?
Sure.
Yep, it's
Absolutely.
561-441-4444. So, very easy number.
Okay, do it again. The number?
561-441-4444.
That is a good number.
Yeah.
So call Colleen. She'll set you up. She'll, give you an evaluation to see how she can help you, whether you have Parkinson's disease or not.
Yeah,
right?
anything. If you're working on balance, memory, coordination, you just want to get stronger, give me a call. I'll have you come watch a class, then we'll evaluate and put you in the perfect class for you.
Sounds awesome.
Yep.
Also, if you want to learn more about Parkinson's disease, you can go to the Parkinson's Foundation website, which is parkinson.org, O-R-G. Any other resources that here in South Florida, there's Boca Raton. There's a chapter of the foundation in Boca. So we do have one local here, but across the country, just go to parkinson.org. You'll find out about all the services that they provide. They have fundraisers if you want to get involved in
Right.
fundraising.
They do walks. They have resources of different types of classes. I mean, the key is move. Find something that you love and do it that way.
There you go.
It might not be my program. There's plenty of other classes out there if you like to dance.
That's
They
me.
have dance for PD.
I'll be there to dance.
Yep, there's many different ones. So
And
that-
also, thank you. And John has support groups. There's a support group online on Facebook, www.facebook.com/groups/PD for Parkinson's disease and DBS, which stands for Deep Brain Stimulation Support. Also, facebook.com/groups/Florida PD and DBS support. So check it out. Thanks for being here. Thank you guys for
Thank
coming.
you for having us.
You guys have
It was
been
fun.
awesome.
It was really
It's
cool.
been great.
Great experience.
And thank you all for tuning in for another show. Come back, same place, same time next Tuesday at 6 o'clock p.m. In the meantime, don't forget, give somebody a hug because they need it and so do you. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining us for this week's Caregiver Solutions with Marcia Teal. Join us next week as Marcia, who has 15 years of Alzheimer's disease and dementia care experience, brings you more needed information to help with the care of your loved one. This show can be seen again on caregiversolutions.info, and questions can be left on the site, which may be used on the program to help others. See you next week for more Caregiver Solutions.